Fourth chapter. While Han Ji-yu was driving to the tower in the early morning, his thoughts were filled with the image of Gleb. Blonde hair swaying at the slightest breeze. Bright eyes cautiously studying and constantly following Han Gyu's movements. A soft voice sounding so gentle, flooding and such sincere laughter. Han Ji-yu carried all this in his heart. He understood that the boy had found a way to his heart and would not let go. Han Kyu clutched at his chest, not because it hurt, but because to hold on to the warmth of memories. Han Kyu had never felt like this before. He was a warrior, trained from birth to fight and win. Love and tenderness were not part of his world. But something in Gleb touched him deeply. Maybe it was the boy's innocence, the purity of his heart. Or maybe it was just the fact that he was different, had his own secret world, just like Han Kyu himself. As he drove, Han Ji-yu couldn't help but remember the night they spent together. Communication through gestures, laughter, sharing food and wine. It was a simple and pure joy that he had not experienced in a long time. Han Kyu knew Chinese and Japanese. Less than Russian is not difficult to learn. I can handle it greater than he thought. The thought of leaving Gleb made Han Gyu's heart shrink. He knew that he must return to the tower and continue his duty to put down the rebellion. But he also knew that he would never forget Gleb. For the next 20 days, Han Ji-yu fought with his men against the rebels. His thoughts were filled with Gleb. His heart ached with longing. Every night he went to bed, wondering what the boy was doing, if he was safe and happy, what he was eating, who he was spending time with, and most importantly, whether he was alive. Finally, the uprising was crushed, and Han Ji-yu was able to return to the portal under the rock. He drove as fast as he could, wanting to see Gleb again. As he approached the portal, he saw a figure in the distance. It was Gleb who was waiting for him. Han Ji-yu dismounted from his horse and ran up to Gleb. They hugged, almost fell into each other's arms, and time seemed to stop. Gleb felt warmth spread throughout his body. He couldn't believe that Han Kyu had come all this way just to see him. He held him tightly, not wanting to let go. And Han Kyu's arms around him seemed like a protective shield. How long the evenings were in anticipation of the meeting, how many fires burned out, how much Gleb changed his mind. But the hope of a meeting never left him. For Han Kyu, it was a moment of pure bliss. He fought a lot for his people, but all he could think about was Gleb. The memory of the short time together kept him going through the long and exhausting days of battle. And now, finally, he is here, holding Gleb in his hands, and this is not a dream. Unclenching their embrace, they looked into each other's eyes. There was no need for words, as their eyes spoke volumes. They both knew they had found something special in each other that they couldn't live without. Han Kyu and Gleb spent the rest of the evening together, talking and laughing with gestures and facial expressions as best they could. Han Q learned all the words he remembered from their first meeting. Gleb was surprised and happy when Han Jiyu pointed to the stars and said, "Star," or when he pointed to the fire and said, "Fire," sky, horse, books, wine, forest, wind, Gleb. "You're really good at this," exclaimed Gleb, beaming with joy. "I didn't expect you to learn so quickly." Han Q smiled back, proud of having learned a new language, pleased the guy. The night sky was clear and they were sitting by the fire.